and Pelosi did that, it was at that moment that I said, this woman needs to be fired now.
Yeah.
And I am so happy that she's fired, because it was like the people could actually have power in this. They shoved this thing against our will. You know, we gave them the message. They didn't get the message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The polls said the majority of Americans are against this thing. You know, every election in the off year, Scott Brown should have been their message.
Yeah,
My God, a Republican in Massachusetts, he took Ted Kennedy's seat. That should have been the message. You know, he ran and he said, "I will block health care. I'm the thing that prevents a filibuster. I'm that vote. You put me there, I'll block health care." Right? And he got elected. And they refused to look at that. And the message was, stop. Stop this damn thing. America doesn't want it. And Pelosi said, no, I'm going to stick it to these people. Okay, you stuck it to us for $1 trillion, and you know what? You're fired.
And the elites in the mainstream media were all basically behind or supported Obamacare, and they used this argument. Conservatives would say American healthcare is the best in the world, and the elites would say no, it isn't, because look at infant mortality and all these different, you know, life expectancy and all these other matters. You know, look, the United States ranks 30th or 35th, but that isn't because of healthcare. That's because there are certain groups in this country which are pretty...
Rossi's winning.
Are pretty casual with regard to ordinary decent behavior. Like we have this enormous black underclass in the United States, which has, you know, huge rates of teenage pregnancy and all sorts of social delinquency. So people aren't dying of in childbirth and dying young in the United States primarily because of health care. We've got great health care, but health care is not the primary determinant of how long you will live. Primary determinant of how long you'll live is values. What are your values? Do you wear a seatbelt? Do you drink to excess? Do you do drugs to excess? Do you have friends? Probably having friends is much more significant for your health than whether you smoke or not. Because when you're connected to other people, you're going to be a much happier person. You're going to have people there for you when you run into bad times. Like, I'm going to probably need surgery on my nose. I've got a deviated septum. And so when I was thinking about who would I turn to get a ride home from having surgery, I was like kind of thrown for a loop, because I'm not in a romantic relationship. I'm not like really closely connected to other people. I kind of lead a disconnected life as a blogger. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to be disconnected. So if you have good values and you're strongly connected to other people with good values, that'll probably do more for your life expectancy and your health than whether or not you smoke. And American healthcare is the envy of the world. It's the best of the world. We drive the world in innovation. Much of innovation in drugs and various health techniques comes from the United States because we have more of a free market. America is a freer country than any other country in the world. Like, you have more personal freedom, you have more freedom of speech. In the United States, the economy is more free, and that opens up all these opportunities for innovation. People are far happier in the United States than any other country in the world. Like, you go to Europe, there's like a dullness about it, because like all the fundamental questions of life are being kind of answered by the government. They provide for you if you lose your job. They provide for you with massive welfare, health benefits, retirement benefits, etc. And so the individual is not forced to struggle to try to create a life for himself. So like, if the government is going to take care of your female partner, your girlfriend, and her 4 illegitimate kids, why should you marry her and get a job? So, like, I mean, have you noticed that, how much happier Americans are than non-Americans? Like, Europeans have this like cynical, kind of dull view of life, that they're not excited about life. We're excited about life because we've got to get out there and struggle, try to create a life for ourselves. Like, I've had to struggle, you've had to struggle. It's been touch and go. Our comfort, security, having a roof over our heads and some health care and, decent food and, gas in the tank and a car has been no easy achievement for either one of us.
It's been a bitch, man.
We've been clawing our way by our fingertips, but we like having the freedom to say what we want and to not live in fear of, oh, the rabbi's going to throw me out of the shul, or I'm going to lose my job if I speak out.
And you've been thrown out of shuls, so
yeah, but
you know what that's like.
But now I got my own virtual shul, the shul of the internet, for where the misfits of the world can come.
No, that's my gig.
Okay.
I run Temple Beth MySpace, right? And Rabbi Rabbs embraces all misfits. That's my gig.
So
get your own act, man.
When did you start taking an interest in politics?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been aware.
But when did you, can you recall, a
You want to know something? You want to know something?
Yeah.
Ready for something?
Yeah.
I worked on the infamous... Ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? The re-elect the president campaign.
Oh, for Richard Nixon?
For Richard Nixon.
The committee to re-elect the president?
I was part of that. I worked for them. No, I know that because I worked for them, right? And then when the Watergate hearings came up, and they were that was the that was constantly quoted. They were, and I was like, oh my god, I worked for these crooks.
But I tell you what, I would much rather have someone who shares my basic beliefs about Israel, a strong military, low marginal tax rates. I don't really care if he's corrupt. It doesn't bother me if he's, doing some hanky-panky and a little blow.
Wait. It wasn't just a few little things. He was using the power of the Oval Office and all of the administration.
Do you think he did much more than any other president?
Him and Clinton were clones. I mean, they both usurped their power. They used, the FBI and the Justice Department to investigate their enemies, and they did.
That's the norm for politicians.
It's not right.
It's not right, and I'm glad we got a free country where we can expose it. But it's still not the number one issue for me when it comes to choosing.
Okay.
I would much rather have a corrupt person who shares my views on taxes.
What about the fact that when State of Israel in 1973, he delayed coming to the assistance of the State of Israel because he decided it would be a good idea to let the as the words of Henry Kissinger, let Israel bleed for a while.
Well, he did come to their aid.
But he didn't exactly come the first day. He was letting a few Jews die. And what else? He pressured Golda Meir to give back the Suez Canal.
Yeah, so they're not perfect on Israel. But it's interesting how, until Nixon, Nixon was far friendlier than all his predecessors. President, we had very
I was too
shaky relationship.
Johnson was before I really knew what was going on, so I really don't have an opinion on him.
Jimmy Carter was no.
Oh, but that was after. That was afterwards Nixon. There's only been 2 presidents in my mind who have been friends to. Only one in my lifetime who's been like a real friend to the State of Israel. Didn't pressure them at all.
Yeah,
that was Ronald Reagan
and George W. Bush.
George W. Bush took down Saddam Hussein, so for that we have to be grateful for. But him and Condi constantly pressured. They pressured Sharon to give back Gaza. They put a lot of pressure on peace talks. Reagan never pushed for peace talks. Nobody ever had to give back an inch of land.
Toomey is up by 4 percentage points. Toomey is going to win. It's up by 4 percentage points with 96% of the vote counted.
So what was I saying before you cut me off?
You were saying that Condi and W.
No, Ronald Reagan was in office for 8 years, and he never put not 1 inch of land was given back. He didn't pressure them to have peace talks. He was great. The other guy who was great was Harry Truman, because he stood up to the State Department and said, "Create the State of Israel." He signed off on it. Those were the 2 heroes of the State of Israel, as far as I'm concerned. They were the 2 guys I have no problems with.
Any important markers in your political journey? Any turning points?
Well, that was my first time moments? I was working on a...
Okay, you worked for Creep.
I worked for Nixon, and I don't know, when I got into high school is when I started probably doing my own thinking on these kind of things, and then I started thinking, that was when I became a libertarian.
Yeah.
Because I started realizing Republicans and Democrats, this is retarded. This whole thing, and